Title: The Elastic Hero versus the Snake, an ultimate Coinmania royal showdown. The streets of New York were bleak and desolate, a stark reminder of the Great Depression's relentless grip on society. The city, shrouded in a constant haze of despair, was a battle arrived. Among them, Salvatore the Snake Bianchi reigned supreme, his control over the royal racketeers mob unrivaled. In a different realm, Brian lived a mundane life, oblivious to his latent powers. A regular guy with a regular job, he had no inkling of the destiny that awaited him. That was until he was inexplicably teleported into the Depression-era New York for the Ultimate Coinmania Royal, UCR, an interdimensional contest of champions. His mission: to face and defeat Salvatore Bianchi. Brian found himself disoriented, standing in a dilapidated warehouse, the air thick with tension. Across from him, Salvatore smirked, flanked by his men. The contest began, and it was clear from the start that the odds were stacked against Brian. Salvatore's mobsters surrounded him, using every dirty trick in the book. They struck from all sides, overwhelming him with their sheer numbers and ruthless tactics. Brian's initial attempts to fight back were futile. He was knocked to the ground repeatedly, pain radiating through his body as Salvatore's men closed in for the final blow. Salvatore watched with a predatory grin, confident in his impending victory. "You should have known better than to challenge me," he sneered. Just as Brian's vision started to blur and his hope began to fade, something extraordinary happened. A surge of energy coursed through his veins, igniting a latent power he never knew he had. His body began to stretch and contort, elongating beyond human limits. Brian's eyes widened in realization and newfound determination. With a newfound agility and strength, Brian fought back. His limbs stretched out, striking down the mobsters with precision and speed. He twisted and turned, dodging their attacks effortlessly. The tables had turned, and Salvatore watched in disbelief as his men fell one by one. Brian's body became a whirlwind of motion, a living weapon that the mobsters couldn't counter. He used his elasticity to bind and immobilize them, turning their own numbers against them. Panic set in among Salvatore's men, their confidence shattered. Salvatore, refusing to admit defeat, lunged at Brian with a knife, but Brian's elastic form easily evaded the attack, wrapping around Salvatore and disarming him. With a powerful stretch, Brian flung Salvatore across the warehouse, sending him crashing into a stack of crates. The fight was over. The mobsters, disarmed and defeated, were quickly apprehended by the authorities who had been alerted to the warehouse by the commotion. Brian stood victorious, his newfound powers pulsating through him. As the police hauled Salvatore and his men away, Salvatore glared at Brian. "This isn't over," he hissed. Brian, panting but resolute, looked down at his defeated foe. "For you, it is." With the threat neutralized, Brian felt a familiar pull as the UCR transported him out of the Depression-era world. He had triumphed against Salvatore and his mobsters, moving on to the next round of the Ultimate Coinmania Royal. The experience left him changed, aware of his extraordinary abilities and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The city, still gripped by the Great Depression, had seen a glimmer of hope, a hero rising against the odds. Brian had proven that even in the darkest times, resilience and justice could prevail.